The X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, coming to you from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the Talkstar Radio Network and on the X Zone Broadcast Network, and our growing family of broadcast affiliates right across Canada, the United States, Central America, the Caribbean, South America, the Pacific Rim, Australia, Asia, India, Africa, and Europe. Toll-free worldwide, 1-800-610-7035. That's 1-800-610-7035. Email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, you can always chat with our studio people by typing in the MSN address xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com, and our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. Don't forget, the new X Zone Radio podcast player is available. It has over 908 interviews in it. Each and every night, the 4 interviews that we do during this broadcast will be added. So it'll keep on adding and adding and adding to that number. Right now, over 908 interviews, and it's available on all our sites, especially xzonepodcast.com. My guest this hour is Gary Robertson, and Gary has invested decades into traditional and non-traditional modalities concerning mental and physical health and healing. He has been director of a nonprofit organization, Springs Foundation, that uses energy psychology and energy medicine, developing programs that provide extraordinary benefit to the clients seeking relief from a wide range of difficulties. Gary became interested in the human potential movement of the late 1960s, beginning with encounter groups. 2 important themes from that era found deep roots within him: authenticity and experimental applicability. To proclaim ability and methodology with helping people change, the helper must be the product of the process that he or she professes. Most therapists are apt with talking, but few actually walk the walk and are worth finding. Gary studied with some of the best, including the subject of his book, Adventures with Master Leany, and personally experienced the work that is documented in his latest book, Genuine Being. Joining me now is Gary Robertson. Gary, welcome to the X Zone.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
It's our great pleasure. Let me just ask you this question before we go to a commercial break. Is there really such a thing as normal and or paranormal reality?
Well, that's a matter of opinion, and in my opinion, a lot of the assumptions that we have about what's normal don't play out if we actually start examining what people mean by a normal reality or what's abnormal. It's like what's paranormal for me, for someone like Colleen a Messenger, that's her normal reality. So there's a huge difference between what I see going on and what she experiences going on in the same location at the same time. So what we're talking about when we're saying normal and paranormal are usually more talking about what's the level of consciousness that someone's operating at, what's their perceptual skill level, what talents do they have with perception. So they can, if you actually get 10 people and you get them to define what's normal and compare it, you'll find 10 different definitions.
So are we to assume then that one's perception of reality is based on their own belief system?
Well, beliefs are a way, a lot of times, of organizing reality or limiting it or expanding it. Those are more modalities to get to reality. Reality is going on all the time for everybody, and some people say, well, in order to see something, you have to believe in it. I don't go there anymore. I think it's possible, and it's actually preferable in my experience, to get beyond belief.
All right, you and I have to take our commercial break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Gary Robertson is our guest this hour, X-Zone Nation. www.helenamessenger.com. That's HELENAMESSENGER.com. And he's the author of The Adventures of Masterlini. We'll be back on the other side of this break in 2 minutes. Don't go away. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Hi everyone, Rob McConnell here, and I wanted to spend a moment on internet streaming. Everybody has heard about internet streaming, but not many know much about it. Did you know the internet streams just about everything?
Movies,
From new releases to old classics.
TV shows,
Almost every show, every episode, and much more. But the question has always been, how do you do it? Well now, thanks to the folks at 123 Ready TV, I have the answer for you. They have developed a simple program app, 123 Ready TV, that you install on your Windows PC, Android smartphone, or Android tablet that can have you streaming like a pro in less than 5 minutes. You truly won't believe how much is available or how easy it is to do until you try. And for a one-time cost of only $19.99, this product is a real winner. To learn more about 123 Ready TV, visit our website at www.xzbn.net.
Hello, I'm Justina Marsh, and with my dad Pete, we are going to present a new show called Too Good to Be True. Together, we are aiming to discover more truths about this world and beyond. Do you have unanswered questions about the world? Do you ever wonder about aliens, conspiracy theories, or the universe? There are many shows discussing subjects such as pyramids or UFOs, but we want to relay this information based on our own research, including from spiritual means. Hopefully, listeners will be helped with their own beliefs and will appreciate the psychic insights that add to the previous research and information. We both look forward to sharing this insight and beginning this journey with our listeners. Visit xzbn.net for more information about when to listen.
Gary Robertson is my guest this hour. www.helenamessenger.com is the website. He's the author of The Adventures of Masterlini. Tell me, is it possible to get all metaphysical these days without getting all whacked out over it?
I think it is. And in fact, I think if you're really going to get in very far into the metaphysical realms, it's absolutely necessary not to get whacked out, because it can be pretty risky.
How do you stay away from the woo-woo factor?
Well, what I do, I keep one foot very firmly on the ground. I have a system that I use to qualify things, and I'm borrowing from material from a bunch of different places in order to be able to simply determine whether something has any level of validity or integrity. And start with that, and if it doesn't have integrity, I don't pay any attention to it.
Why do you think so many people, Gary, actually get sucked into all the weird aspects of the metaphysical and stay away from the realistic ones?
Well, because most people don't have a way of determining the difference. You can't go very far in any direction, whether you're talking about like channeling or following teachings from some non-physical spiritual being, or if you get into the darker side, it's the danger is the same with being taken to places where you're actually dealing with consciousnesses. You don't have any way of determining what their agenda is, because they're usually very high level consciousness. That's why we want to talk to them in the first place. But I've had personal experience in a number of times with spiritual teachings that basically don't have that level of integrity. So they can really get you highly compromised.
You've got people watching TV, these different paranormal shows that are on, and they can get the wrong idea. Plus, you've got people who are searching the internet. By the way, I call that the largest receptacle ever created by man. It all depends on what site they land on, whether or not they're going to be real about the metaphysical, or else they're going to be sucked into the woo-woo factor. So how do we guide people to stay away from the woo-woos and go with the credible, go with the real metaphysical that is out there?
Well, I think it's impossible to do it mentally. I think one sorting process you can use mentally is there any verifiable result? And that's one thing that I really stay with. I've heard some very, very interesting stories, and the stories can suck you into all kinds of things, even big sets of books about things. You don't really know unless you're absolutely willing to check. Does this do anything? One of the followings that I studied was Science of Mind for a while, and I really love the practicality of that approach. That it's great to have a lot of spiritual insights into things, but if they don't put bread on your table, they're not real helpful right now. One of the things, and you see it even in the standard teachings like Christianity, where here Jesus was teaching about the kingdom of heaven is at hand. It's right here. It's right now. And they got changed to, well, you have to die in order to get it. And you have to jump through all these hoops, and you have to do all these things, and you're probably not going to make it anyway. So then you get hooked in.
Well, you see,
you're sucked into something else.
Now, as far as I understand Christianity and the Bible, that premise of having to die for it was certainly not in the teachings of Christ. He was trying to tell everybody, hey, heaven is here on earth.
Right. And just about every kind of teaching you get, if it starts changing the fundamental message, then you know something else is in control of it, and it's already, whether it's a woo-woo factor or if it's that basically loses integrity when it goes right there. And if you can check that, then go there.
But what about what about religious philosophies like the Church of Scientology, where that's under a lot of scrutiny these days because some of the high-profile members are complaining about certain aspects of the church that they full well entered into knowing what they were getting into, but now certain members of the other church are causing waves, and it's got public scrutiny watching it, and now they're changing their story. Is this a good example of how metaphysical things can change?
Well, how it gets contaminated, yes. In fact, there was someone that, Helena Messenger was telling me that her ex-husband was very much into Scientology, and some of the techniques that she uses for hands-on healing came from Scientology originally, but it was in her ex-husband's experience that a group came in and essentially took over the organization, and as a group that didn't have integrity. I've seen that also happen with the Conversations with God Foundation, where if you really start getting in and get to a certain level of public influence, then it also gets to be targeted by groups that want to control it for purposes other than it was set up for. And if you can tell that, if you got some way of being able to determine that, then you know when to back off and get out of there. And Scientology, if you just check the quality of the energy right now, it's very negative.
Tell me, who is Helena Messenger anyway?
She just presents herself as a hands-on healer, clairvoyant healer, and she's a very unusual, highly talented person. And when I met her, I was really looking for help because I had gotten involved with two different groups that had become contaminated, and I'm saying, don't go there. That was some of the best advice I had from one of my mentors before that, don't go there. But the problem was I already had. And there are lines of connection, energy connection, that can get established that are become very problematic. They can create disease. They can keep the kinds of things from happening that I wanted to happen. The kind of energy that I was putting together to generate things for my purposes was getting taken away to support other stuff.
All right, so what is your connection with Helena Messenger right now? Because your website is www.helenamessenger.com.
Well, I gave you that website because the book, Adventures with Master Leni, is about my adventures with her and meeting her and a lot of the kind of reality that is normal for her, for instance. If people are interested in talking about paranormal and interested in someone who can go there and operate in those kind of realms and do healing work within those and can do some amazing things in order. If she talks about something is going on with you, like the first session I had, she was talking about, well, your liver has got this kind of thing going on, and I'd heard that from some other people, so it didn't surprise me that she could identify that there was a negative kind of energy in my liver that was impairing its function. But then I was like, well, take this potion for a month, or that's what people normally do. Do this liver cleanse or something like that. I've been told to do those kind of things, and so like in the time we were discussing it, I said, well, what am I going to do about it? And she said, well, I've already done it.
And what did she do?
What did she do?
Yeah.
She was removing the energy pattern that was in my liver that was impairing its function.
And you know this how?
Yeah.
And how do you know that this really happened?
Because my digestion improved, for one thing, but I can also, I have my own ways, like I said, of verifying things too. Separate, so I'm not sitting there just thinking, well, that's a nice story, I want to believe that, so I'm going to believe that. It's like I don't believe or disbelieve it. What I do is check and see if it's valid or not. And when I check what she does and what she says, we do this all the time together. She sees something and we talk about it, and things that happened in the past or are happening in another location, different time, different place, whatever. It's all accessible to someone with the kind of talent that she has, but she's also able to do something that has verifiable results too, and that impresses me.
Now, what is her background?
Well, let's see. She grew up in this standard kind of family and stood out from. The way she puts it is that she came into this world fully open, psychically. She's clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, and then she also ended up with a lot of training too. But she was a Benedictine sister for 7 years, and she's had a lot of very beautiful kinds of experiences that you want to hear about if you're interested in woo-woo kind of stuff. But essentially, in the chapel, some great big light being showed up and lit up the whole chapel and said, you have to leave. So she did.
Now, what have you yourself witnessed?
Oh, I got all kinds of things.
Why don't you hold that thought? We've got to take our news break at the bottom of the hour right now, Gary. Gary Robertson's our special guest. We're talking about Helena Messenger. The website is www.helenamessenger.com. Gary is the author of The Adventures of Master Lini. 1-800-610-7035 is toll-free throughout the U.S., Canada, Alaska, and Hawaii. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. Don't forget, if you'd like to listen to any of our podcasts, one place to go now, www.xzonepodcast.com. There's a podcast player right there with over 908 interviews. I'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Hi everyone, Rob McConnell here, and I wanted to spend a moment on internet streaming. Everybody has heard about internet streaming, but not many know much about it. Did you know the internet streams just about everything?
Movies,
From new releases to old classics.
TV shows,
Almost every show, every episode, and much more. But the question has always been, how do you do it? Well now, thanks to the folks at 123 Ready TV, I have the answer for you. They have developed a simple program app, 123 Ready TV, that you install on your Windows PC, Android smartphone, or Android tablet that can have you streaming like a pro in less than 5 minutes. You truly won't believe how much is available or how easy it is to do until you try. And for a one-time cost of only $19.99, this product is a real winner. To learn more about 123 Ready TV, visit our website at www.xzbn.net.
Gary Robertson is our special guest this hour. www.helenamessenger.com. He's the author of The Adventures of Master Lini. And before we went to the break, Gary, you and I were talking about Helena Messenger, and I asked you if you had ever seen anything strange or out of the unusual, or anything that you would classify as paranormal while in the presence of Helena Messenger.
Yeah. Well, essentially, after I met her and started spending some time with her, all kinds of paranormal stuff were going on. Things that I would consider paranormal that were pretty much normal reality for her. One of the examples that I try to give to people to get just a perspective on the difference between what I see and what Sheila sees is, I remember the first time I did that, we were in a park at a little mountain fair, and there were maybe 50 people that I could see, and I said, okay, I see about 50 people here. How many do you see? And she was saying, well, there's about 5,000, and then there's layers and layers beyond that of spiritual beings who are involved all the time. And, we have very, very simplistic ways of talking about those things. We say, well, if they're from God, they're all angels, or they're God, or it's all that kind of stuff.
No, well, that's Gary, that's not what I'm talking about. That's not what I'm getting at. What kind of strange things, like you were telling us that when she was a nun, she was in a church or an abbey, and this great light filled up the room, and this voice said, you must leave, and this is when she left after 7 years of being a nun. What have you seen like that?
Well, see, I don't see this stuff, so I can't tell you from my particular perspective what was going on.
So how do you know it's real?
Well, like I said, I have ways of checking. I simply check for the validity of what she's saying a lot of the time.
But how can you check for validity of 5,000 people, multiple layers, if you can't see it?
Well, I use various forms of kinesiology. It was like muscle testing, dowsing. There's like 4 or 5 different versions of it, and I had developed that before I met her. But like I said, I also look for what's verifiable when you start interacting with those kinds of beings. And one example was when I first met her, I was living in a tri-level house, and it was just temporary residence for me because I had to move because the other place that I was in got really infested. I didn't expect this little suburban kind of tract home to have any problems with it. But I was talking to the guy who owned the house, and he was telling me some about the history of the house, and that actually the people he'd gotten from, the lady had gotten really sick, and progressively sick, and so she had to leave the house. And so we were talking about that, and he was also talking about he and his wife had moved into the house, and they had ended up splitting up because she would sleep in the bedroom. And he insisted that that was their bedroom and he wasn't going to leave, and so eventually they split up. And so the guy had a new girlfriend, and she wouldn't sleep in the bed either. And so I said, well, that sounds interesting. So we went up, and I just started doing my checking, and he was checking, and he just put his hand out, and I said, okay, there's a really reversed energy right here over your bed, and there's one over here in the corner of the room. And he could feel the difference in the temperature there.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And so, okay, we didn't think much about that. And I was going down, and this is kind of a long story. I'll try to cut it as short as I can. But I went down and I started doing some plumbing work in the basement because I'd said I would do it. And so I've done a lot of that kind of work. I've done remodeling work, and I figured maybe a 2-hour job. And so in the first hour, I had it 3/4 done, and then in the next hour, I maybe had another 1 of 3 pieces done. And I started having the experience that I'd had in this other building that was really infested with negative energy spirits and so on. And so it's like starting to get really thick in my head, and it's hard to make decisions. And I went back to the hardware store, and I got 3 different times, and I couldn't get the right piece, and I couldn't make this fit, and so on. And so finally, it's like I recognized, oh, there's something going on here, and I just backed out of it and left it. And Helena was going to be coming over. We'd already set up an appointment, so I thought, okay, I know what to do with incenses and so on to drive this stuff out and change the energy with it. But let's see what she does. So she came in, and I took her in, and I started telling her what was going on there. And while I was talking to her, I was just standing there, and all of a sudden, it felt like the floor moved. You know, and it's like I got, like earthquake kind of thing, like the floor had moved, and I hadn't moved, but it was just a sensation. And I said, "Whoa, what happened?" And she said, "Well, there are 2 ghostly spirits here, and one of them pushed you." What? And she said, "Well, yeah." And so anyway, we ended up having conversations with them through her, and they had been there before the house was there, and so they had come into the house, and they were upstairs essentially. That was their hangout, was that bedroom. They like sexual energy, so they hung out around sexual energy. And so when this guy and I had gone up there, well, we had essentially engaged them. Well, they hadn't been in the basement, and they followed me down. And so they started messing with me there, and it's like, according to her, their perspective was I was being terribly rude because I knew that they were there. We had essentially engaged them, and now I was ignoring them. And so they were simply trying to get my attention and talk to me. And I said, well, make them leave. And she said, we can't do that. I said, well, why not? She said, well, they were here before the house. They have more right to be here than you do. Okay? And I said, well, okay, can we make them a better offer? And so essentially we did. And the difference was the energy in the room cleared. Well, when we started talking to them directly, the energy cleared. And then I could go to the same hardware store and look in the same set of parts and find exactly what I needed and finish up the job in 20 minutes.
All right, so what does the negative entity, if we can call it that, have to do with what happened at the hardware store? I can't follow this one.
Well, it was affecting me to the point where I couldn't stay clear enough in the room to figure out what to do with the plumbing. And it wasn't changing the physical aspect of the plumbing. What was changing was my my perspective on things and my ability to see what was going on and figure it out.
Is
and
it
do something
possible
about it.
there was something in the basement that was causing you to not think rationally? Was there something in the air? Was there a can of open solvent that could explain this?
No. No, I lived in the room right across. That was my bathroom, and I lived right across from that. And I didn't have that experience for the 2 months before then, and I didn't have it afterwards. And so it was very temporary, and it was from all my checks and from to verify what was going on. What Helena was saying was precise and accurate, and the solution that we ended up with resolved the situation because it never happened again.
All right. So besides this this event where Helena was apparently able to quiet down the revolt of the two spirits, what else?
Actually, she removed them. They got removed.
Oh, she did.
She essentially healed the problem that they were having. Why they weren't evil spirits or anything. They had some really negative experience themselves and hadn't been able to go through transition, and had been hanging around long enough that their energy started getting more and more contaminated and heavy and dark and so on. And so essentially what she was doing in order to solve my problem with the plumbing was to solve their problem with why they were still stuck.
I also read in the information that you sent us that you believe automobiles have personalities.
Again, if we talk about belief or disbelief, I don't believe it, and I don't disbelieve it. What I can do is work with the possibility that automobiles have a particular kind of personality, and people are going around all the time talking to their automobiles, and they say they get positive results from doing that.
I don't know anyone who talks to their automobile.
Oh.
I know a lot of people who curse and swear at it because it doesn't run right.
Yeah, I've done that too. I've done a lot of that.
But I've never, in all my years and all my travels, I've never heard or seen anyone talking to their automobile. And if that's the case, do you talk to a Chev differently than you talk to a Ford?
Oh, absolutely. According to Helena, if she's talking to a particular automobile, she's not talking to the Chevy. She's talking to the consciousness that decided to be in that vehicle in order to have an experience. It's like
wait a second. I have to ask you this. I have to ask you this right now. Before you met Helena, did you ever think that people may be talking to their cars and the cars might have personalities?
I thought it was pretty strange to be doing that, but yeah, I'd had experiences with cars that seemed to be really difficult to work with, and it's like I had a Volvo that I put together. I bought an engine and a body and some other parts as a package deal, and I spent a year trying to get that car on the road, and it fought me tooth and nail every step of the way.
Unreal. Tell me, what is your relationship with Helena?
Well, we started out as colleagues, and we were exchanging services and so on, and it just got so interesting. I mean, how often do you get the opportunity to talk to someone who can say, well, the problem you were having with your Volvo is this and such, and help explain it?
I don't know if I'd
even
want
though
to.
it was 20 years before that, and things like.
All right. Okay. So let's get to the end. What is your relationship with Helena now?
Oh, we're partners. We call it soul partnering. And
are you involved romantically?
Yeah, that too.
So I could call you her agent or her manager.
No, I'm not. That's not part of the partnership.
But then why do you promote the website?
Well, because that's the access to the book. I wrote the book about these are my adventures, early adventures with her. It's mostly pretty lightweight stuff that I put in the book. It's not the really difficult, heavy-duty stuff that we've also gotten into. The set of questions that I answered to, about what your show is about, had to do with paranormal. And
right.
That's pretty much what I was, what the book is about, is a lot of expanded reality experiences.
All right. What was it in your life that made you look outside of the box for guidance?
Because I couldn't find answers in the box.
What were the questions that you were seeking answers to?
Well, could I continue surviving as a human being in a human body? That was probably the major question. Alina kept saying when I met her, I looked pretty gray, and I probably would not have survived more than another year or two.
And this was verified by a medical doctor, right?
No, I didn't have any fatal condition. What I had was a lot of stuff affecting me that medical doctors just wouldn't go there. They wouldn't even talk to me about it. I didn't have an identifiable medical condition that they could treat, so they weren't interested in.
So how do you know you were going to? You only had about 2 years to survive.
I don't know that. That's just that's what she was saying, and I know there were several people at the same time who were saying similar kind of things.
All right, you and I have to take our final break. Stand by. X-Zone, this is the X-Zone on the Talkstar Radio Network, 1-800-610-7035, toll free throughout the entire world. My website, xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, you can always chat with us here, xzoneradiotv at hotmail.com, and our website, xzoneradiotv.com. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Hello, I'm Pete Marsh. With my daughter Justina, we will be presenting the new radio show, Too Good to Be True. If something seems too good to be true, it usually is. But with the help of Justina's amazing gifts, we're going to gain insight into questions that don't yet have complete answers. Have you wondered who built Stonehenge and for what reason? Why are crop circles found in the same region as Stonehenge and elsewhere? Are crop circles a hoax, or are they created with technologies that we have little knowledge of? Who built the pyramids in Egypt and also in other countries? How and why were they built? Was the Titanic switched with the Britannic as part of a gigantic insurance fraud, or for more insidious reasons? What caused the Tunguska event when trees were flattened over an 800 square mile area in Siberia? Will the new insights be too good to be true? Well, that will depend on what you are prepared to believe. Please join us as we start on this journey together. For more information on Too Good to Be True, visit www.xzbn.net.
Dreams are our personal gateways into infinite wisdom. Don't miss shamanic counselor and indigenously trained dream decoder Sandra Corcoran's inspiring book, Shamanic Awakening Between the Dark and the Daylight. This remarkable work chronicles Sandra's 35 years of experience with diverse wisdom keepers and her initiations throughout the Americas and across the British Isles, Turkey, Greece, and Egypt. Sandy's knowledge of symbology, psychology, and myth influence her dream blog and workshops. Sandy offers private tarot readings, international journeys, a meditative CD, as well as her book, Shamanic Awakening, to encourage you as you navigate this earth walk, creating a deeper connection to yourself and all that is. Find this and more at Sandy's website, starwalkervisions.com.
Gary Robertson's our guest. Gary, what's your take on angels?
Well, let's see. My understanding about angels is that what I would call angels and what most people call angels, and the Bible talks about angels, and what someone who can talk to them directly, like Helena says about it.
No, you missed my question. I didn't ask you what Helena says. I asked you what you said.
Okay. Well, my experience with working with the angelic realm is that there are certain ones that can call on who can do things when I need help with them. Things I can't see the angels, but I can. Okay, here's an example. I started working with Archangel Michael because people say, Archangel Michael will help you out. He's a powerful angelic being and so on, and he has a high level of integrity, and he will do. If you ask him to do something, he will do it. So I was playing around with that and trying it out, and I was in the front yard at this one house, and I got knocked down, and I wouldn't have believed it. I wouldn't have thought about it that way, except that 3 or 4 months before, I was working with a client who had that experience, and she got knocked down hard enough that it broke her wrist and her ankle. Just from walking and getting knocked down, and that's physically that's impossible to have that kind of accident, to hit that hard. And I had the same thing, except that I just took one step and I hit the ground so quick that I bounced. I didn't even get my hand out to catch myself.
Now, Gary, you said you were working with a client. What kind of work do you do with clients?
Well, what she was wanting to know was how to stop that kind of thing from happening. And so what I was primarily doing at that time was working with energy psychology, which basically translates what's going on with somebody
energy psychology
mentally or emotionally as an energy, some kind of energy form or energy pattern. I work more with energy patterns right now than quantities of energy. But basically, any kind of Einstein proved that anything physical is energy. So it's easier to say if I'm really angry, there's a lot of energy there, and so we can work with the energy directly to clear things.
Gary, we've run out of time for tonight. I do want to thank you so much for joining us. Gary Robertson has been our guest this hour, and I don't know what to say. He's a gentleman who's gone from trial to trial to trial, obviously searching for someone or something in life. I don't know what it is. And here he's found somebody, this Helena Messenger, who he's attached himself to, and he's helping people. That's scary. That is really scary. Can you just imagine a person helping another person who is seeking and searching themselves? Now, isn't that like saying, "Doctor, heal thyself"? Except I think you'd have a better choice and a better chance with a doctor. What the hell? Check his website out, helenamessenger.com. He is the author of The Adventures of Master Lini. Hey, I don't write it, I just read it. We'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as the X Zone continues here on the Talkstar Radio Network. And as you can tell by the song I'm playing, you've got it, X Zone Nation. Another one bit the dust. This definitely will have a big red DNR on the file. And DNR stands for Do Not Rebook. I'll be back on the other side of this break with the news at 6.5 minutes past. Don't go away.